Hey, what's going on, you guys? It's Ace Sai. Today, I actually wanted to focus on a little something different. I've read off the list to you guys. I'm looking over here. I've got my Cuban Missile Crisis, the Rise and Fall of Germany, Dutch War of Independence, Powers the Queen Still Has, 13 Hours Save Britain. I mean, it's like 25 videos long. I've got a lot of videos that you guys have requested. I always write them down. Almost always. There are a couple that I've forgotten and people have reminded me, and I apologize. That being said, today we're going to watch one of those, and it's called When the UK Nuked the US Twice. So it's when Britain nuked America twice. That being said, clearly the UK has not nuked America. I'm pretty sure I would have learned about that in history class, but it's probably a plan or it's a simulation or something like that. So I'm really excited to check it out. This video is actually an original video from Mark Feldon Productions. So go check them out. I have the link down in the description. I'm really excited about this because, I mean, we spend far more on our military in America than any other country. In fact, I think it's like the next 7 countries together in spending, added up, is still less than ours. It's incredible how much we spend. And I mean, I'm not going to get into the whole politics of that because you could go down a dirty, dark rabbit hole with that. That being said, though, I want to check this out. If Britain nuked America, what the hell would happen? Alright, so let's check it out. What is that? Anybody know what plane that is? I love aviation, but what is that?
In the 1960s, Great Britain nuked the United States not once, but twice. Fortunately for all concerned, the attacks were only training exercises, but so embarrassing were these attacks that they were hidden from the American public for about 50 years, as well as being strenuously denied to the American press for decades.
So it may have been a training exercise, but it wasn't a simulation. They were actual nukes. What were they on some distant islands? You know?
As far as America was concerned, its defenses were 99% effective. But in simulated attacks, Royal Air Force bombers managed to penetrate US airspace to launch nuclear attacks on New York City and several other important urban centers. Before I
Okay.
tell you how, a word from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you
Alright.
by
Let's go ahead and
Curiosity
skip
Stream,
this guy, you
the
guys.
subscription for lovers of history.
I do love history.
How did the British manage to penetrate the world's most heavily defended airspace? The answer is surprisingly simple and consists of 2 words: Avro Vulcan.
It's cool.
The Vulcan first flew in 1952. The team that created it, led by Roy Chadwick, who
I guess that answers that question. Which plane is that? It's the Vulcan.
designed the famous Lancaster heavy bomber of World War II. A jet-powered, tailless, delta-wing, high-altitude strategic bomber, the Vulcan was the backbone of Britain's nuclear airborne deterrent during most of the Cold War. So
What's interesting is we have our B-2, the Flying Wing, and it kind of comes back just a hair and then kicks out like this too, and goes straight across, and it looks very similar shape to that. However, it doesn't have this. It doesn't have its tail. Okay, now I'm second guessing it. Anyway, it's a very similar design, so I'm assuming that this is of similar purpose. It's a stealth bomber, probably.
serving from 1956 until retirement in 1984.
Really? Only 18 years? For a plane?
This is the story of Exercise Sky Shield, when Britain nuked its closest ally, exposing how the Soviet Union could have done the same for real. In 1960, the United States decided to run the largest test of its air defenses in history. Exercise Sky Shield 1 occurred on the 10th of September 1960, and all commercial air traffic over the US and Canada was grounded, amounting to 1,000 US commercial flights and 700 general aviation aircraft, plus a further 31 foreign flights due to land in North America. The US Strategic Air Command would launch B-52 Stratofortresses and B-47 Stratojets to simulate a massive Soviet nuclear bomber force approaching.
Look how cool those are, B-52s. We still use them today. It's just incredible. Stratojets, stratobombers. I mean, obviously off the name stratosphere, you know, you get up into the stratosphere somewhere around 55,000 feet, something like that. And they were just made to be just really high up bombers. Here's the cool part about them, though. For those of you that don't know about planes, check it out. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 engines on this damn plane.
Approaching North America from north and south. 360 US interceptor aircraft stood ready to defeat these enemy aircraft, which numbered 310. Among those 310 aircraft were 8 Royal Air Force Vulcan B-2 nuclear bombers. A flight of 4 flew from Scotland, while the other 4 launched from the British territory of Bermuda in the Atlantic Ocean. The American plan was to detect these enemy bombers by radar and other early warning systems, and then they would be intercepted and destroyed in simulated attacks by US jet fighters and missile batteries. The attacking bombers split their attacks between high and low altitude. The defending fighters did very well against the Stratojets and Stratofortresses, intercepting many of them, but the Vulcans proved.
To be fair, though, I mean, although the B-52 is a fantastic aircraft, it's not exactly new. I mean, when was the B-52 made? 47? Something like that. I don't think we used it in World War II, but right after World War II, right? I might even be wrong. We might have used it in World War II, but I think it was right after World War II we started using the B-52. I'm guessing 52, actually, is what I would guess. 1952. But yeah, I mean, it's not exactly a new plane.
More elusive opponents. The Vulcan flew at the highest altitude of the simulated Soviet bombers, cruising at 56,000 feet.
In the stratosphere.
One was successfully intercepted at this altitude over Goose Bay, Labrador, by a United States Air Force F-101 Voodoo. But the other 7 Vulcans all managed to penetrate American airspace to launch simulated bombing attacks on US cities.
Wow.
They then turned around and landed at Stephenville, Newfoundland.
I guess at the time our systems just didn't detect that high. They didn't expect people to be 55,000 feet up, which is kind of stupid considering that there's planes and things out there, you know?
The question was, how had the Vulcan managed it? The answer was their highly advanced electronic countermeasures systems and the Vulcan's amazing maneuverability. For example, the flight of 4 aircraft that approached from Bermuda were successful because 3 of them put up a wall of electronic interference that prevented interception, while the 4th Vulcan carried out a simulated nuclear strike. This was all rather embarrassing for Strategic Air Command, which quickly buried all stories about British bombers having nuked US targets and confidently assured the American public that US air defenses were, as I said, 99% effective.
I guess stealth bombers from the stratosphere are just, the other 1%.
However, the following year, the Americans invited the RAF to take part in Exercise Sky Shield 2. Perhaps the US AF was determined to show that the Vulcan's previous success was only a fluke, a one-time only event. Sky Shield 2, which occurred on the 14th of August 1961, was an even bigger event than the first one. It caused 2,900 US and Canadian flights to be grounded, affecting 125,000 commercial passengers. During the exercise, 125 US and British bombers would be pitted against 1,800 fighters and 250 missile sites, and over 200,000 Air Force personnel from the US and Canada.
God, that's a cool plane. Look how much it weighs down. You know, I mean, look at the look at the wheels out there so that it doesn't scrape because it's got such long wings.
Coming up on 16 and a half seconds. Now, continuing. Yeah, but I'm still ready, now. Brakes apart.
That's cool.
Come up. 6 foot standing by flaps.
Again, 8 Vulcan B-2s participated, split again into 2 flights. One attacking on the northern route from RAF Lossiemouth in Scotland via Canada, and
Okay.
the other 4 aircraft on a southerly route from Kindley Air Force Base, Bermuda. The B-47 Stratojets simulated low-level Soviet bombers. The B-52s would attack between 35,000 and 42,000 feet, while the Vulcans
Okay, so low troposphere, and then B-52s would be mid-troposphere to upper troposphere.
operated the highest altitude, 56,000 feet.
And that's right at the, I think it's right at the, just outside of the troposphere, just into the stratosphere.
At the massive NORAD, or North American Air Defense Bunker at Colorado
Cheyenne.
Springs, the U.S. top brass was joined by the RAF's Air Marshal Sir Kenneth Cross of Bomber Command and Sir Wallace Kyle, Chief of the RAF Technical Training Command, to monitor the exercise. Just before 2 p.m., U.S. interceptors pounced on the B-52s, approaching at the mid to high altitude level. The Vulcans also came in from the north, and again, due to the Vulcans' high-tech jamming equipment, only one was shot down by an F-101 Voodoo fighter. In fact,
It's a cool frickin' plane, though, an F-101.
large numbers of U.S. fighters were scrambled, but they concentrated almost exclusively on the B-52s. When the Vulcans came over, the interceptors did not have sufficient fuel remaining to climb to 56,000 feet plus and engage them. The surviving 3 Vulcans conducted their attacks successfully, turned around and landed at Stephenville, Newfoundland.
Wow.
The southern attack force of 4 Vulcans from Bermuda reached a position 50 miles off the US coast before fighters were scrambled to intercept. Again, 3 of the Vulcans unleashed an electronic jamming screen that kept the attacking F-102 Delta daggers busy, while the 4th aircraft crept round to the north and sneaked through. This Vulcan proceeded to land at Plattsburgh Air Force Base in New York. If this had been a real attack, New York City could have been reduced to a smoking, irradiated hole in the ground.
That just feels like you're rubbing it in at that point. You didn't just, simulation of, you didn't have a simulation of a nuke. You actually took the time to land at the base. Wow.
Many of the Stratojets and Stratofortresses had also managed to evade interception and launch simulated nuclear attacks, but not at the kind of success rate that the Vulcans enjoyed. In 2 massive exercises of 8 Vulcans that attacked on each occasion, 7 had got through to their targets, an astounding survival rate against the huge might of the US air defenses.
Such a cool plane.
The Vulcans showed that with the right aircraft, America could be laid wide open to a nation-ending assault, something which the Soviet Union would have been very interested in. Fortunately for all concerned, the relationship between Britain and the United States never changed from special to decidedly antagonistic, and the Vulcans never came in anger. The American government also tried to make damn sure that nobody ever found out about the Vulcans nuking American cities. The US Air Force was very quick to deny rumors that RAF planes had once again successfully penetrated US airspace. In fact, the US government went so far as to classify all references to Vulcans included in the Sky Shield exercises. After all, if the RAF could practice nuke New York City, Washington, D.C., and even Chicago, the Soviets could do the same, if they could develop an aircraft as good as the Vulcan. As far as Strategic Air Command was concerned, the Vulcan episodes had never happened, and the US was well protected, and that protection, as I said, 99%.
It's not even a Vulcan. Is that it almost looks like the Concorde. The hell is that? Yeah, it almost looks like it. Nose looks a little different though. Isn't the Concorde's nose angled down just a little bit? What is that? It's super crazy pointy nose. I mean, it's definitely close to supersonic, if not supersonic. You know that. I mean, it looks just like it except for the nose. The nose is bugging me. Maybe it's just the view, the angle of this picture. Um, but yeah. Anyway, yeah. Basically, they're just saying at this point, if everybody knows that England could do it, then the Soviets could do it, and that's scary. So I understand why it's scary at the time, I guess. So I understand why they would hide it. That being said, I've got a question for you guys. We are spending so much money on our military in America. Do you think that that could happen today? Do you think that the if we asked Britain to try again, that they would make it through? Hmm. Let me know what you guys think, because we have a hell of a lot better systems now, but they do too. I don't know. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I always love a little bit of aviation, and I thought this would be interesting. Till next time, this is Ace Society, and I'm out.